Kia ora and welcome to Tarmac. I'm Dave.
I'm Matthew, and you might see a new face here. I'm talking about the car rather, because it's not the Seat Leon anymore. This is the Cupra Leon.
That's right, it's in its 4th generation, and Leon meaning lion. This one really roars. Come, let's take a look at this. Spanish car giant Seat actually launched the Leon back in 1998. This is now the Cupra version, which is now in its 4th generation. And Leon, as I said before, meaning lion in Spanish, but it's also a name of a Spanish city, Leon. Not as opposed to the French city of Lyon, which is Lyon. But anyway, you'll work all that out by yourself. The Cupra Leon is now in its 4th generation, and boy, it's a good looker. Take a look at the front here. Really big, sharp lines down the bonnet here that draw your eye down to this mesh grille up front with this Cupra badging in copper. It's just such a great looker. The lights here, or headlights here, are actually LEDs, of course, and there's this really cool C-shaped DRL. Plenty of venting down here to give you loads of air to go into, or airflow into the engine, and also makes it very aerodynamic. Let's take a look around the side. Our review model comes in Desire Red, and really this car is desirable as a hatchback. It also comes as a sports tourer as well, so there are 2 versions. This is the VZ, and there is a VZ sports tourer. VZ meaning velocity or veloz, which is basically fast, and this is fast. Shh. Anyway, looking further forward, this actually sits 25 millimeters lower in the front than the regular Seat Leon, and 20 mils lower in the back. So it actually does hug the ground a little bit tighter, a little bit lower. 19-inch wheels with slithers of rubber along them. Very strong shoulder line down the side here. Great Cupra puddle light, which I'll see if I can show you now. And just look at it. Just a really strong hatchback. It's such a smart hatchback. Let's take a look around the rear. A nice roofline spoiler that comes out to meet this hatchback here. Coast to coast lighting. I'll see if I can show you this at night. It looks amazing. Really does light up this back rear end here. The Cupra badging, or actually Cupra badging and also Cupra lighting. I'll get to that bit in a minute. We've got quad exhaust. We've got a sort of an attempt at a rear diffuser here. And just look at it. It looks excellent. Now about that badge, you may notice this from another part of the VW group, but that's how you get into the boot here. And once inside, actually, if you can lift, because it's actually quite a big drop in here, 344 litres of trunk space with all the seats up. So actually it's quite deep, but plenty of it. Let's take a look under the bonnet. Under the bonnet here lies a 2-litre turbocharged 4-pot married to a 7-speed DSG. Together, what they give you is 221 kilowatts of power, which is actually 300 HP in old school or old money. 400 newton meters of torque, whatever newton meters are. But anyway, it's got loads of them. 0 to 100 is in 5.7 seconds, and efficiency is 6.7 litres per 100 kilometers. It's Euro 6 rated and also offers 172 grams of CO2s per kilometre out the back. So it's not bad actually, but boy is it nippy. Anyway, speaking of things that are nippy and actually full of gas, Matthew's inside and he'll be able to tell you what's going on in there.
I'm not sure why Dave keeps going on about my greenhouse emissions and all that stuff. I think I consume less and my footprint is sort of less than his, but never mind that. The interior of the Leon Cupra, actually, firstly I'll get this right. There's a lot of copper accents in here, not bronze, remember? Secondly, the materials are pretty environmentally friendly, if you like. The leather on the door cards and stuff is mostly faux leather, so a bit of environmental friendliness there. You do get a bit of leather on the seats here, just highlighting those nice solid bolsters and the Cupra logo just embossed in the top there. Adding to that cool factor is also the fact that everything is highlighted in copper stitching, not bronze again, remember. The top of the dashboard, well, that's covered in soft materials, and everything generally feels really well screwed together in here. It's a proper VW Group product. The dashboard is broken up by this sort of brushed metal effect material here, and then you get a bit of scratchy plastics down the bottom. But that's to be expected because this is just the Leon, even though it is the Cupra model. Down the middle here, you get wireless charging for your phone. Tucks it away in there, keeps it away from you when you're driving. So really good. You get this little stubby thing here, which is the new gear selector, and then there's space for your key just down there. How can I forget that this bright red pulsating thing is what really brings this Cupra to life, and that's where the magic is in the driving, but we'll get to that in a moment. Before we go there, let's take a quick look at the infotainment screen. Now, the infotainment screen is, of course, Cupra's standard infotainment screen, which you saw in our review of the Formentor. Nothing much has changed here, except the fact that everywhere there's a car, it is now a Cupra Leon instead of a Formentor, obviously. The layout itself is pretty simple, and it's, the shortcut there I like of the start-stop system especially. The cool thing here is that when you touch the car there, you go into the more sort of fiddly bits of everything that controls this Leon Cupra. There's plenty of safety assist, as you can see, and by that diagram there, this will even park itself, and not just behind other Cupras. On the left side here, this is really the one you want to click on, which is the drive profile, and of course you want to have it set to Cupra. But we'll talk a bit more about these drive modes when we're actually driving the car. The infotainment screen, as we found, is just a little bit slow, but that's probably something to do with this model specifically, because otherwise we've seen that this Cupra unit works really well. However, one thing that isn't so, I guess, user-friendly is these slidey bits down the bottom. So you have your temperature, your volume controls, and your temperature again, because it's dual zone climate control. But the thing is that these things don't light up in the night, so you're kind of fiddling around in the dark there, turning up the volume when in fact you want to make the cabin warmer. But I guess it's something that you'll get used to by daily driving the car. Another thing that you use when daily driving the car is, of course, the steering wheel, which is pretty cool. So let's take a look at that. The steering wheel is, of course, the famous Cupra unit, so you get some nice leather solid thumb grips there. Everything is highlighted in copper stitching, really nice touch there. And of course, all these buttons here highlighted in copper, and hidden just behind here are these big paddle shifters, which feel really good to touch and nice solid quality to them. The steering wheel itself, well, it's got all these buttons here instead of the touch capacitive stuff, which we really like. And it's quite easy to use actually, so just pressing the view button in front of you here will change the gauge clusters in front. So you can have a more traditional look like that, or you can have something a bit more modern like this, and keep flicking through according to your preference. If you notice that there's actually two gauges, so there's a separate one on the right and one on the left. And again, you can change those according to what you like to see. So press the right button there and flick through this wheel, and you can change according to what you want. So the phone or compass if you need to, that kind of stuff. And the same thing with the left side one there. So it is really practical all around. Normally I would say something about practicalities and stuff, but this is essentially a proper hot hatch. This is a sports car, so I think the right thing to do at this point is just take it for a drive.
Launch control! 5.7 seconds, 0 to 100. Actually, with the way this wheel spins, possibly not.
It's something that I've always found confusing with the VW group, is they've got the GTI, they've got the R, now they've got Cupra, they've got Skoda RS, they've got Audi S, but somehow everything slots in weird places and everything sells, and we keep getting new generations of it. I'm not complaining, but just stating a fact, if you like.
Yeah, and the Cupra, you're saying that Cupra has its own little space, which is just so sporty and just so unique. Its badge is unique, its position seems to be unique, and just the way it feels and drives is so unique. This is a fast hatchback, and also it's got a fast sort of wagon as well, which is, who knew there's still wagons going around. The Cupra badge is great fun, and just it's almost a driver's car, to use terminology for another brand.
It's almost like this is the GTI's more fun sibling, if you like, because that's gone a little bit more formal, a little bit too suit kind of thing, and this is the suit, but it's the bright floral colored suit or whatever, if you like. It's a bit of fun, it's a bit of a laugh, but when things sort of get down to the business, it really can prove a point.
Yeah, let's get the basics out of the way as normal. Seating position. Look, I'm feeling well loved by this seat. Probably shouldn't say that out loud, but it's really hugging me well. Visibility is good. You know, it's not a big vehicle, so you can see around really well. Wing mirrors are good, sporty wing mirrors. Great feel in the steering wheel. You know, the faster you go, there's more weight to it as well, so it gives you that extra confidence to take corners, and you do want to take corners fast in this. And just that Cupra badge in not bronze, copper, sitting right out at you, is just great.
And again, they've done enough to make it feel like it's a different car and it's a different brand. You know, all the fittings, that unique copper finish, and the various sort of, I guess, more Cupra aspects to it make it feel like something different to, you know, all the other VW Group stuff. And that's something we really like about Cupra, is that there's so much of individuality to the brand, and it's almost sort of not just desirable, but it's exclusive. I think that's probably the word I'm looking for there, is you barely see any of them on the road, and people passing by look to see, you know, what is this? What brand is this? Because it's still unknown, and it's really catching people's eye with that cool looking copper logo.
It is, it really does. Drive modes, you can flick through from comfort to race to Cupra to individuality or individual. To be honest, haven't spent much time in comfort. It is a slightly softer on the suspension, but sport doesn't really tend to do that much in our opinion. Cupra is where you want to be. It sort of enlivens the exhaust note through the cabin that's piped through. It feels, the suspension gets tighter. Everything just gets more sporty and more ferocious. The downside of it, I guess, is there is a fair amount of road noise, and it is a little bit jarring. I mean, Matthew says his wobbly bits are out, and don't go there. But literally, you can shudder to think what I've come from.
What I meant was all the fatter bits of me are jiggling about.
Stop it.
Yes, because the fact is that you have only, I think, 35 mils of rubber on it. It does translate all the tire noise into the cabin, especially in Cupra mode. Sports mode, I feel we have felt, is not that different to comfort. And the fact is that the tarmac top tip, I think, is that use Cupra mode, because that's where all the fun is.
About that suspension, what this comes with is an electronic diff, so an electronic lock diff, basically XDS. It's got traction control, which tends to cut in quite a lot in this vehicle. It's got about 3 or 4 different traction control systems to make sure that when you put your foot down, it does let the wheels spin, but saying that, what it does is it keeps you pointed in the direction that you want to go. Torque steer is very, very minimal. So normally with a car that you put down 400 Newton meters of torque, and remember, we don't know what Newton meters mean, but 400 of them, it does tend to go in a wild direction. This will it's a point and shoot vehicle. It's great.
And you can just imagine, this is a front wheel drive hot hatchback. The front wheels are doing the steering, they're doing most of the braking, and they're just being attacked by 300 something horsepower Spanish Cupra horsepowers or Leon horsepowers, and it just is doing a fantastic job of it. Yes, when you do put your foot down trying to do the 0 to 100 thing, it does jar a bit, and it doesn't like losing traction that much, but otherwise it does a really good job of keeping its composure generally.
And in the corners, you really do feel confident just attacking them. Once you've got it into Cupra mode, into sports mode, it does really just want to go and go. I love it.
And as I said earlier, it's the fun sibling in the VW Group, because you can hear the turbo spooling, you can hear the fizzing, you can hear some pops, and of course it's got that DSG gearbox. Every time you do the upshifts, it does that unique DSG fart, which is pretty cool.
Oh, and just cornering, so much fun.
Its manufacturers are being bold when they drop there are faster versions of cars by 15 millimeters or even 10 millimeters, but this is 25 millimeters lower at the front and 20 millimeters lower at the back. So they've really just completely slammed it, and the fact that the front is lower gives it that nice sort of aggressive look with the higher up back and the aggressive nose. So really enhancing further that reputation of Cupra being the performance brand.
Yeah, I reckon if I got in a sharp enough corner, I could get the back wheel just to kick up or something, but we won't do that. So there you have it, Cupra's new Leon, Lion, hot hatch, and also there's a sports tourer. But anyway, it is an aggressive vehicle that if you're in that hot hatch market, this is one I truly recommend you take for a test drive. It's really amazing.
Don't quote me on this, but I'd almost say it's probably the one I'd go for instead of the GTI. It's a little bit more fun, it's a little bit more exciting, a little bit more, how do I say, hoonish, if you like, to use a proper New Zealand term. But that's probably because of my age. I'm guessing Dave, if he was an accountant, he'd have the GTI.
Yeah, this is not a sedate vehicle. Anyway, thanks for coming along the ride with us anyway, and look forward to seeing you on your next one.
Remember to subscribe and hit that bell icon as well. See ya.